we'll just get it going. And if we have any chats, I'll pull up my thing and see if I can watch it on my phone. You know what I mean? Any chats that come through.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, we're live. Oh my gosh, here I am just chatting away. Hello, everybody. This is Tanya Eldert, and Stephanie will introduce herself in a second, but I am a real estate agent with Realty Partners, the Plus team. And go ahead, Steph.
I'm Stephanie Harris. I am a real estate agent in the Tampa Bay area, Pinellas County, Pasco, Hillsborough.
Good. Yeah, we're both with Realty Partners and we work together. So we like to do these happy hours. But today is going to be a little bit different because in the past, our happy hours have on Fridays have been house hunting.
Mm-hmm.
And I decided to do a little special edition today. Just because I have been running into it a lot while this week in particular. But we're going to be talking about HOAs, the pros and the cons.
Mm-hmm.
So first, let's start with what HOA means, because I don't know if I'd ever heard the term when I lived in Maryland and Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a homeowners association, which the initials don't sound so scary. But when you get down here and you start driving through the communities of Florida, and you go look on the big signs as you drive in, there's a little sign on each community that says deed restricted.
I did not know what that was.
I looked at my first one and I'm like, what the heck does that mean?
I didn't know either.
We don't see that up north. And maybe there are some HOAs, especially more, urban areas or something. I don't know. Maybe some different suburbs, they do have it. Everywhere I look in Florida, there's HOAs. I rarely, maybe some of the rural areas don't, but even those are putting in these planned developments and they have HOAs. So even if you go in the middle of Hernando now and it's a community that's just being built, there's an HOA that goes with it. So, where to start? Well, first of all, it is actually in the Florida state laws under Chapter 720. So if you want to find out, the actually state regulates the HOAs, or at least the laws. But very weirdly, there's no governing body. Okay, they regulate it, but they don't put like this overall HOA governing body. No sense. Okay. So what happened is over the last few years, when you need an estoppel certificate, and we'll talk about that a little bit more, but when you need that certificate from the HOA when you're doing a real estate transaction and you need to get it, the prices were like creeping up. So all of a sudden you've got a buyer who needs an estoppel certificate to buy a house and they're being hit with fees of $500, $600, $700, $800 for a piece of paper. And they're like, what the heck is this? And there was no regulations. There was nothing to say that they couldn't do this. So last year there was a law passed that actually capped those fees. So if you want an estoppel certificate, which is basically the HOA saying that this amount of money is either owed or it's okay for the title company to transfer title, because an HOA can put a lien on your house. Oh, yeah. Now it comes after the tax liens, but an HOA can put a lien on your house. So one of the things that you want to think about when you're, buying a house is in an HOA, you need their certificate, which can take a little while to get, but the law kind of trims down the days that they can wait. It's $150 for upfront. I think they can charge $250 max. They can charge an extra $150 if there are fees on there, i.e. the person owes money. And $2, if you want to expedite, it's an extra $100. They can put those fees on it. They don't have to, but they can.
Yep.
Okay. So there are some regulations now that help you, with the transaction part. So that's good. All right, we're going to take a break, 2 seconds, because this is a happy hour, and I totally forgot. What are you drinking today?
I had it last time too, a mimosa. Happy
I'm going to
Friday.
keep switching this up. You keep going with the same thing. It's okay, but I'm going to start switching this up. So I have. We're both with Traveling Vineyard wine reps, right? So
Mm-hmm.
there is a Posada Blonde, which is a
Oh.
sparkling white. It's
Mhm.
not very sweet, and I like sweet. So what I did is I had fresh fruit that I'd had in the freezer. And so I put the fresh fruit into there to
Uh-huh.
make a kind of sangria-ish.
Yeah, a white sangria. Mm-hmm.
And it keeps it cool. So while the fruit is thawing, it makes the wine stay cool. It's kind of like ice cubes, but it doesn't water it down.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, the best part is when you're finished this, you get to eat the fruit.
Nice.
I'll wait till after we're done this before I do that.
There you go. Good.
we're going to throw that out there.
Yeah.
So, what's your take on HOAs?
So there is a commercial out right now, and I wish that I could remember what company, but it's probably because the HOA kind of stuck with me more than the company. But I guess this couple moves into a community, and they have these hanging baskets on their house. And this person comes through with a pair of like garden shears and chops all the baskets down and says those were hanging too low. And one of the neighbors says, "I see you've met Karen from the HOA." And I guess in all my life, I was never kind of like you up north where I lived in Maryland. There was one neighborhood that I knew about that had an HOA, and I never really understood what the point was, because it seemed like, and I have to put this disclaimer out there, I was getting all of my information from Facebook, but what it seemed like is that the rules for the HOA were just, they made it seem kind of ridiculous. And it was very much like this person with their potted plants, that they were hanging too low, like this particular one. I think that they don't allow flags of any kind.
Yeah, there's a big one about whether you can have an American flag in your yard or any other type of flag, or how many flags. And
yeah, well, this one in particular, I think that it had to do with like NASCAR flags. And so they didn't want those NASCAR flags hanging out. And then, but because they said no NASCAR flags, you couldn't have any flags. So even if it said welcome spring or welcome friends or the American flag, you couldn't have anything like that. And I guess I just never understood the value that the HOA added to the neighborhood. And so it took me moving to Florida and understanding real estate in Florida to understand like where there really can be a great value to an HOA. And, one of those things, and we talked about this earlier, was that, there is a certain kind of, probably not for the people we're talking to, but there's a certain level of upkeep that you have to keep on your house so that, the property value stays up. The other thing is I've been helping a lot of people lately looking at communities that are 55 and over. And a lot of the HOAs, when you're paying in your fees, you really get a lot for it. I mean, they're offering, cable and care for your lawn and trash removal and all those kinds of things. And it's amazing that like some of those HOAs actually take over a good part of your utilities, which makes it totally worth it. So I guess it's just kind of, and like you were just saying, it doesn't seem like there's any kind of rhyme or reason as to what the HOA does or what they offer and what the fees are. And so I guess, it helps to have, shameless plug, a professional kind of guiding you through the value of the HOA.
Right. And so I'm going to give a perfect example to just what you spoke of. So My mother ended up in a 55 plus community with an HOA. I think at one time it probably was gated with a guard, but the gates are down now and people just drive in. Now there's different types of houses in her community, and some of them are condos. She actually has one of the single family homes to the back. Her HOA fees are $58 a month. That includes the use of all the parks, the walkways, a nice community center, a nice pool, a nice hot tub. You know, it's very nice. They do veteran stuff, and you know, they do all the community things. They have activities for them for $58 a month. Now, they don't mow her grass. They don't take care of her trash. I mean, she does all that. In different parts, they do have that. Depends on what section, but the fees are, of course, more.
Right.
All right. So when my mom was going to move in, I found the HOA docs online. Okay. The list, we put in an offer. Actually, we put an offer on two houses, one on one street, one across the street. And we were negotiating both till we chose one. But we knew she really wanted that neighborhood. And I liked it because it was a very safe neighborhood. It was affordable and it was safe. So we ended up getting one, and I found all the HOA docs before she even finished the inspection contingency. We looked it over. Honestly, it's like a 90-page document, and they print it up and they send you addendums every part of the year. You know, if anything changes, they send it to you, and you're supposed to, if you're the homeowner, put that in your binder. And it's part of their regulations that you pass on that binder to the person who is buying. Now, I have helped people buy and sell in that neighborhood. I've listed other houses since then. And almost in every case, I had made sure that that binder was on the table during the part where people are looking through. And of course, I found my mom's online, so she knew what the rules were. We had a neighbor who probably 6 months after she move in. And her and I got to be friends. And she was actually a real estate agent from another state who did not have HOAs like we did. And one of the days she was telling me, she said, Tanya, no one ever showed me the HOA until I closed on the house and they handed me the binder. Because the rules with the HOA was just that the seller had to give it at close, not that you had to do it. And she had an agent who did not help her. The listing agent did not provide it. The buyer's agent did not ask for it. She had no clue what the rules were when she closed and paid for that house.
Wow.
Now, luckily, it wasn't, you know, there was nothing in there that would have been a game changer. But, you know, for example, my mother's other neighbor, her husband does some part-time yard work or something. And he's got a white truck with a little magnetic sign. He's not allowed to park that in his driveway because it's a work vehicle. It's a truck. It has a little sign on it. He cannot leave that in his driveway. It has to go in the garage. All right. My mother loves to hang up her clothes. She's just old-fashioned like that. She hates using a dryer. All right. So her big thing was in this development, they do not, we knew this before she bought. They do not allow you to hang up your clothes outside. Or if you do, it's only for a certain amount of time, like so many hours during the day. All right. So we're like talking about it. I was like, Mom, you know, Michael can make you something that's retractable and we'll, you know, put it out. And she's having a huge, this is like her biggest hurdle with buying in this community is hanging up her laundry to dry. So we ended up, there was actually already a clothesline inside her garage. And so on laundry days, she pulls her car out in the driveway, and open up her garage and the side door, and it gets enough wind in there to let her clothes dry. All right. She cannot leave her garage door open according to HOA rules unless the screen is pulled down. Which that's fine. It has a screen. She pulls down the screen. She keeps her laundry there for, you know, the day. She puts it back up and she pulls her car and she goes to bed, you know. But I mean, it was like, you know, I purposely looked for a house with no HOA when I bought. Okay. And that's my passion. That's my husband's passion. We don't want people telling us what to do. All right. But I cannot imagine and going through that. But you know what the funny part was? She has all these little black garden snakes all over the place. And
Uh-huh.
she realized without that screenshot, they would be coming into her garage. So she
Yeah.
actually,
See what the HOA does for you.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing that when I've been looking at homes, like I said, especially for this over 55 community and the opportunities that they offer, the $58 a month is not terrible. I have come across HOAs that are $6,000 a year, and
Or more.
what's that?
I said, or more. I've seen them higher.
Yeah, I guess but what concerns me about that is especially if the buyer ends up in the same situation as your mom's friend and they didn't know anything about the HOA, all of a sudden that really changes your financial picture.
It does.
Because you're talking about $500 a month. And, some people, depending on what they buy and where they buy, that just doubled their mortgage, basically, their monthly
And it
outlay.
doesn't even go to the equity of your house. I mean, it's
Right.
services. It's not improving your value or you put into the house. So it just depends. Like I said, if it's your cable bill and it's your lawn bill and,
Mhm.
it's upkeep on the house. I mean, and people need to realize there is a difference between a condo fee and an HOA fee. They're
Mhm.
two different things. And you
Mhm.
can be in a condo and have an HOA and have to pay both.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's documents for both. And so there's special documents for a condo. There's special disclosures for an HOA. If
Mhm.
you have an agent who doesn't know what they need to know
Mhm.
about your HOA disclosures and everything that needs to go with it,
Right.
as a buyer or seller, you can really be putting yourself in a lot of either liability
Mhm.
or big surprises down the road.
Definitely.
And it's just I see it happen all the time. So I
Mhm.
got to tell you another story.
Okay.
So I was helping a friend who was up north, never saw this place, helping her buy a house down here. Now she
Okay.
decided she wanted to do a fixer upper,
Mhm.
and I got her a REO bank owned auction property. Pretty
Okay.
good price, bought it all cash, all of that stuff, right?
Mhm.
So we're working through the process of getting her closed, which anybody knows, if you don't work with an agent who knows how to do REOs, you better find one because there are special hoops you have to go through
Right.
with an REO bank owned. It is not like working with a regular seller at
Mhm.
all. So
Mhm.
anyway, I'm working through the hoops on this. And I can't get any information about the HOA. Now, it is a beautiful townhome community in North Tampa in a very good neighborhood. We are not talking dump here, we're talking high end, okay?
Mhm.
And I cannot find the HOA contact. I mean, I'm calling all over, I'm trying to get a hold of them. Finally, I just park the car and start walking the neighborhood asking people. I mean, that's how bad it was. Believe it or not, I ran into the HOA president walking the neighborhood trying to
Right.
find. Yeah, this is how we had our first conversation.
Right.
Like, I'm trying to get the estoppel docs. I can't find your number. Now, with the new law, this was years ago, but with the new law, they have to put it out there. They can't hide that stuff anymore.
Mhm.
But anyway, so her and I are chatting, and she points over at this huge Norfolk pine. Now, if you've never seen a Norfolk pine, they're a pine tree that grows very tall, very fast.
Mhm.
And she said the previous owner, not the bank, but the person beforehand that was foreclosed on,
Mhm.
planted that tree. Now the tree, it was a 2-story condo, and the
Mhm.
tree was now twice the size of the townhouse. I
Mhm.
mean, huge. And
Uh-huh.
they're like, that is not allowed, and it needs to come down, or we're not giving you the estoppel certificate. And I said, well, with the estoppel certificate, we can't close,
Mhm.
right? And so
Right.
the bank's going to keep owning that, kind of thing. And
Right.
we all both know the bank's not paying to have that Norfolk pine down.
Right.
And my buyer can't do it until she legally owns it.
Right.
So what are we going to do? Are you going to let the bank own it forever? I've got a buyer. She can
Mhm.
take it down. But if you don't give her the estoppel certificate, we can't close.
Right.
So we actually came to an agreement.
Mhm.
This is why you need an agent. We actually came to an agreement where my buyer, within the first 30 days after closing, would have the Norfolk pine removed if they would give us the estoppel certificate up front that we could close.
Gotcha.
Yeah. This place was so bad, they actually removed the air handler before it went into bank owned. They just took the whole unit out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
They took everything that wasn't strapped down. I'm surprised the toilet was still sitting there
That's right.
because nothing else was in that house.
Right.
So,
Right. Right.
but anyway, she refixed it gorgeous. You know, it was
Yeah.
beautiful by the time she was done. But
Mhm.
I mean, that's the hurdles that you have with the HOAs. I mean, you have to actually kind of, I don't want to say go to bat. You have to be educated of what
Mhm.
their rules are,
Yep.
and you have to make sure you're okay with them
Mhm.
because you know I've talked to people who are very set in their ways
Mhm.
and they wanted their flag and they wanted their pickup truck and they wanted this house that was in an HOA. And I
Right.
would present it to them and I would say, look, you have a work truck. You will have to park it inside the garage. Oh,
Mhm.
no, 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 no. I'm going to fight with them about that. Yeah, good luck.
Yeah. Nothing can happen.
Don't even go there.
Right.
You will
Right.
not win. But, you know, I live in a non-HOA community.
Mhm.
And we have 41 houses in our loop,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
You know, there's different little off branches, but 41 houses in our community,
Mhm.
no HOA. We're still
Mhm.
governed by the county zoning laws. You know what
Right.
I mean? But
Right.
there's 2 or 3 houses that drive down our value, and there's 2 or 3 houses that drive up our value. I mean, we
Mhm.
have houses in this loop that go from, you know, a little less than $1 million to
Mhm.
probably ones I couldn't get 200,000 for in the same
Mhm.
loop. And
Yep.
you won't find that too much in an HOA, that kind of discrepancy.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yep.
You know, they keep the values about the same.
Mhm. Yep.
Don't you agree when you go in and
I do. I do. And it's great though because they don't all, how can I say it? Like they don't all look similar. They
it
don't look
depends
like.
which ones you go into. I've got
Agreed. Agreed. I guess that the homes that I have looked at have been mostly single family homes. And so they do all have a different look, but they don't, but you know, they are all the same, you know.
right. Yeah. And again, they can vary. Each community varies. We're talking about getting a sunroom on the back of our house.
Mhm.
And the guy was there and he said, you know, he said, I got to take the plans to your HOA. I was like, no, you don't. We don't have an HOA, you
Right.
know, and he's like,
Yay.
oh man, in some of these communities, I literally have to get the paint color, you know,
Mhm.
approved and all of this stuff along with the plans. And he's like, oh, this one's going to be easy because he
Yeah.
still has to go through zoning and
Right.
permits. You know,
Right.
the county stuff is still there. It doesn't,
Mhm.
no HOA doesn't negate that.
Right.
Now in Florida, some of the other things you need to think about is some of these non-HOA communities, at least around where we are, maybe not down so much near you in Clearwater, but up here in Pasco, Hernando, Citrus,
Mhm.
you know, some of us don't have public sewer. We're on septic tanks. And
Right.
so
Yeah.
we get people surprised by that too, that I can be, you know, within 3 miles of a Fresh Foods and still be on a septic tank.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, there is that. You know,
Yeah.
I consider myself good suburbs. You know, it takes me 2 minutes to get to the Publix, but
Right. Right.
I'm still no HOA with septic.
Yeah.
So you know,
Yeah. And I
um,
think, how far do you think from where you live is the nearest neighborhood with an HOA? I mean,
oh, it's like feet, literally
yeah,
across the street. I
yeah,
mean,
that's what I
we
thought.
were an anomaly.
Hmm.
And I'm good with being an anomaly.
Right.
Sometimes I literally wrote an offer this morning for a family who did not want an HOA.
Hmm.
And so we have been looking very hard for
Hmm.
something rural, no HOA, but
Hmm.
in every case, it's been on septic and it's been well water, and they're okay with that.
Hmm.
We've already been through the education process on what that entails, and they're good.
Right.
Um, but that's not something you want to be surprised about, kind of thing,
Right. Yes.
because people from the city may not be aware what that entails.
Right.
So
Well, I
it's
know
hard.
where I'm from in Maryland, you know, it's a rural part of Maryland, rural part of America. And like I said, I can only think I'm the same as you. I lived in a neighborhood like you. And we did not have an HOA. There were some covenants when the neighborhood was first built, but they expired after a certain amount of time. And there was only one other neighborhood that I knew about that had an actual HOA. And like you, I have to tell you that when I first moved to Florida and I was riding around, I thought, what does deed restricted mean? I literally had to come home and Google it, because I was coming up with all these things in my head, like, you own it, but
right. That's what I thought too. I was like, oh my God, but think about it. You can't transfer that deed without their thumbs up. They can put a lien on your house if you're not good and you don't pay the bills.
Yes.
Now it becomes a lien behind some other stuff, but it's still on there.
Oh, yeah.
And again, when you get that estoppel letter, which is good, because if the person before hasn't paid their bills, they'll pull it out of the seller who didn't pay their bills. Right. Assets off the closing sheet and everything, and usually the buyer does not have to pay for that. At least you've been notified that it's there, and it's not a surprise. In fact, the new law says if they miss something that they did not put on that certificate that was owed, and you find out later, you're not responsible for paying it because they messed up.
Oh, good. Okay.
So I was like, when I saw that, I knew they had to put a cap on the prices, but when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's kind of a good thing too. It just, no surprises kind of is always a good thing. I think that'll be my new real estate motto: no surprises.
There you go. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, nobody wants them.
I see you have a whiteboard behind you, and I see something written up there. What is that?
Oh, thank you. flnohoa.com. So basically, like I said, for a long time, that's all I specialized in, was helping people find homes in Florida that did not have HOA. So I got that domain name. I also sold a lot of no HOA homes. And so I've actually connected that with a home search through all of Central Florida. So if people want to find homes that have no HOAs and they're going to be moving down here, and that's something that they really want to do, they can go to that website and then start searching houses that don't have HOAs.
Awesome.
So it's good the way it is. It actually says no HOA fees, but if there's not an HOA I know of that's really free. I mean, even the ones we rented from in North Tampa, it was like $60 a year. It was minimal. All they did take care of was like the little park areas. There was nothing else with it. Right. They didn't even rag you too hard, honestly. So, but it was, it's like $60 a year, and they had a couple public parks in the community. So that was nice, and you could use them. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, it can range in fees. For a lot of people coming down here, they like the gated communities. And if you have a gated community, you have a HOA fee, because how are they paying that guy at the gate? Right. I mean, seriously, there is fees associated with it. But some people feel more comfortable with that. Absolutely. And honestly, I've seen a whole bunch of variety of gated communities. Some you can just like be like, hi, bye, just drive through, and I'm like, that was gated, kind of thing. And like, here's my driver's license, here's my business card. I'm going to see this person in this house. Please call them so I can get in. So some is like Fort Knox, and then the others.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's something to look at. And, if you're going to be in an area like Clearwater or St. Pete or, any of the newer developed communities, you're most likely going to have an HOA, because if a builder's putting that much money into building this, he wants to have it a nice neighborhood, because they continue to build in there. They don't want the value to drop.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're doing it that way, and the state laws support that.
I do think, though, like I said, coming from Maryland, I really didn't see a lot of value in HOAs, but I really do, being a person, I guess, who was against it or against them, I see a lot of value in them here. I really do. And I'm not saying that, because people have different feelings about it, and I understand that. But again, like I guess I've learned a lot more about them and they offer so much more than they did in the Northeast. And so I think that, there are some people that may say, absolutely not, I don't want an HOA. But I would ask people, I guess, to kind of keep an open mind, because they are so very different, and they
Exactly.
do offer so many things. And like I said, one of the communities that I looked at recently, I think the HOA fee was about $260 a month, but just doing some kind of initial calculations, when I added up, because it included Wi-Fi, it included all these things. And when I added up everything that it would have cost the home buyer to get all these things, she would have spent way more than $250. So in that particular neighborhood, it was totally worth it. So I guess I would ask people,
Yeah.
if they're looking at that, because I think that people have a feeling about it one way or the other, just like I did, because I was an absolute no. I would just ask people to kind of keep an open mind, because they are so different, and they
Right.
do offer so many different things. And there may be one that, you can hang your flag.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's true. I mean, the one that we rented from, like I said, the first year in Florida, we rented because we didn't know where we were going to live or what we wanted to buy. And so we rented in one, and the landlord paid the fee. Like I said, it was like $60 a year, but they didn't care what truck you put in the driveway. It wasn't like that kind of thing. I don't know. We didn't have a flagpole there, but at our current house, I mean, my husband's, big up in the volunteers of the Boy Scouts. I can't imagine him getting rid of our flag. We have a huge flagpole in our front yard, and somebody telling him to get rid of that would be like it's a completely end of the world kind of deal.
Right.
So,
sign in the yard, we're selling, forget it.
Yeah, exactly. That was actually, that was one of the buying points of the house. It was like, look, honey, it's already got a flagpole there. We're good.
Right.
So,
everybody has something.
Yeah. So, it's just, to each their own. But like I said, I think this is a great one to have, just to be able to inform people that there is such a huge difference and what you need to look for. And primarily, you need to read those HOA documents during the first inspection period. Now, with condo rider laws, if you don't get the condo documents, and there are a set of like 6 that you have to get from the seller, you can back out at any point up to the closing date. With the condo rider laws, that doesn't count for the HOAs. Okay. So if you don't do your due diligence during your inspection period, okay, depending on what you have, if you don't do your due diligence and you're 2 days before closing and you find out you can't park a pickup truck in your HOA, then that is something that is a problem. Just to give example, there is a huge community, North Tampa, that doesn't allow more than 2 pets. Now, I have the website realestatewithpets.com.
Right.
And part of that is I had 3 dogs and a rabbit when I came down here. Okay. I have a 2-pet limit. Now, let's just say we could get away with not letting them know I had a rabbit in there, but I wasn't getting rid of one of my dogs. That would be like giving up one of my children.
Right.
So it wasn't happening. And luckily, we put the offer in. I pulled the HOA docs. I started reading it. I called the listing agent the next day and said, did you know you can only have 2 animals? That's a cat and a dog, or 2 cats, or 2 dogs. That was it.
Yeah. Right.
In this community. She's like, oh no, I didn't know it. And I'm like, you're listing the house and you don't know what the rules are. So anyway, again, buyer beware. So I said, well, just we're canceling this contract. I'll send it to you in writing. I think we had finalized it, but like I said, I canceled it within hours of it being finalized, because I wasn't going to give up my pets for that. And people don't know. I mean, if you're from up north, you can't imagine somebody telling you you're only allowed to have 2 pets.
Right. Yep.
I mean, 8 or 10, maybe. There's a hoarding thing going on there at a certain point.
Right. And a lot of the, I mean, I know I keep going back to the over 55 communities, but that's one of the things that I have, some knowledge in, is many of those you can't have a pet. Well, let's hope it's a dog, but you can't have a pet over 35 pounds.
Oh yeah.
And so anybody that has and I don't even mean, people go back and forth about kind of the bully breeds, but, but a lab, you can't have a St.
Geez, my
Bernard.
lab was like 70 some pounds, a little chunko.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and those are important. They seem like they're little details, but it's hugely important to your family.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah. So, yeah. Okay. So, I think we made the point, and my husband's home. So, I just had a motorcycle coming in. So, I'm going to go ahead and get off of here, and I'm going to finish my sangria.
Okay.
We'll both have a very busy weekend selling real estate. That's why I love doing this on Friday night. It's just like the pause in the middle of the week, because we don't necessarily have off on the weekends. I don't know who came up with that. No. But it's like a Friday night pause.
Yes.
And eventually we will be doing this in person, and we will find like a local bar, and we'll be like, hey.
Yes. And then we'll have, then everybody that watches us, they have to come with us.
There you go. Or we could have a whole bunch of people. So I know good places for that. So anyway, awesome. All right. It was good talking to you. Thank you again for hanging out with me on a Friday, and we'll talk soon. Bye.
Okay. Bye.